as you approach the entrance to the village again, Sorwin is standing there, but he in fact extends an arm to you, almost as if like if you would please.
Say that again?
Well, the two of you walk up towards the entrance to the glades. The bridge has retracted, and he seems to indicate to you with a sort of, after you kind of
Why after
motion. He's just making that gesture.
I make the same gesture back at him.
Very well. And the way in which he kind of like drifts back and forth between his own voice and Sorwin's is unsettling to hear these different voices come out of the same face. Eladrin. And once again, these wooden protrusions extend out from one side of the cliff to the other. And you walking across them, you can see the kind of shimmering green field that seems to cover encompass nearly all of the village, with the exception of this small aperture where you and Lola and Sorwin just recently exited the village. And as you're walking in, you notice a few more of the Gladeborn. Now that there's a lot less civilians there are a few more Gladeborn standing at the entrance, keeping guard. Yeah.
I say to Scorus, so where exactly do we have to be to leave?
As you're walking into the village, Scorus and Sorwin's voice responds with, "Oh, I'll show you. It's just right over here." And you catch a snippet of Elvish, a conversation between two of the Gladeborn. "Are they supposed to be helping us out with this problem? We've already let the gnome rest here. Are they even do anything for us?" The other one comes back with, "I don't know. Not much you can expect from... Well, I know Sorwin is Duranor's apprentice, but... humans? We just let them walk around this place? After having lost so much, they don't even understand."
Bunch of whiny elves.
Sorwin's voice, "Yeah, they're all weepy after... Oh no, lost our capital city, smashed by a dragon. Ooh." And then he shuts himself up very, very quickly when he sees one of the Gladeborn like step out from an area, and essentially it's someone that was closer than he was expecting.
Oh,
so
no.
he kind of shuts himself up very quickly as this person walks by.
Let's keep it. Let's just get there. Let's just get there.
Yes, well, guess you're gonna get to see what happened to that place. Okay, it is right around... Here we go. And you walk into a large stone, almost promenade. It's kind of like a courtyard where there are benches and a small fountain with a large stone piece that has many, many carvings done into the facade, or into one side of this large rock that is carved in the faces and figures of many different elves. Maybe 20 or so people compose this very intricate, ornate carving, and there is one central figure in simple but very elegant robes that kind of has both arms outstretched in a welcoming gesture. But his expression conveys one of solidarity and strength. And Sorwin leads you around it behind a great deal of dense kind of ivy and moss and foliage, and one of these large silver-barked trees that come up out of the ground behind the back of this boulder. And the rear face of it is flat, and engraved into it are thousands and thousands of names in Elvish. And there is one feature that breaks the continuity of the features of this wall, and that is a relatively small humanoid figure, roughly dwarven in height, with a near featureless face. And beneath that face are extending two arms that are holding a small bronze plate. And the two of you have to kind of check to make sure that no one is looking at you. And then you step into some of this foliage and you stand in front of this plate. And you see Skoros, he pulls out a small dagger and jams it into the tree that's beside him and kind of forks off a piece of silver bark and then lays it into the dais. And then takes the dagger and brings it to his own hand and draws it down his palm. And you can see the thick, dark crimson that pours out from his hand. And you can see his face kind of wince momentarily as he cuts his own skin, and then he takes out a small bandage and binds it around his hand. And as he does this, he utters a phrase. What languages does Honos know?
Common and Elvish. That's it.
Okay, he does not recognize a language that Skoros speaks, but Skoros speaks it. Ker ath agarat et meroren. And
dude, you're fucking awesome.
There is a small line or a small point that appears above the featureless dwarven face that cuts a small diamond, like a small recess, just appears into the stonework, and then off the two side points of the diamond, kind of waving outwards in a doorway shape. It's like an arch shape almost. And the facade seems to almost recess inwards just a little bit, and then kind of fall backwards and down in a very sudden manner, almost as if there is suddenly nothing beneath this. And the speed at which it falls is unsettling, because it not only falls, it falls just into a dark void, and you lose sight of wherever that piece of stone went. And there is just this kind of empty black doorway. And Skoros makes that same kind of after you motion.
I double check that I have the necklace in my pocket, the little charm in my pocket.
What charm?
The charm that belongs to my apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
I double check that I still have it on me.
Okay. All right, so the two of you, so you go in first?
Well, I make the same gesture back at him, kind of cheekily.
He smiles and rolls his eyes. Very well. And he disappears into this doorway, and you can, as you follow suit and you get closer to the doorway, you can hear this kind of, like this kind of flow of air inwards, this like a gentle kind of vacuum or suction sound. And you step into this doorway, and looking behind you, you see a similar cutout of light. And you can see the scene that you would if you were to turn around and look out of the aperture that you're in, but it seems to almost be through like a layer of water almost. And you can't explain it, but the air is different in here. And it feels different when you breathe. It feels different on your skin. And it's almost like moisture, but you don't feel any moisture. It's just different.
Okay.
And eventually the light that you saw when you walked in here, it begins to close up, almost as if that stone facade pulls itself back up and seals off that light. And as you're walking forward, you are simply following behind Skoros, who you can barely see ahead of you. He's not even 10 feet further than you are, but he is difficult to see. All right, you pick up your pace a little bit and you catch up and you're right beside Skoros now. And the two of you are walking along a kind of translucent platform, almost. It's like you're standing on something that seems to contain some kind of smoke that is swirling and coalescing only where your feet are making contact with it. As you begin walking forward, and as you kind of make if you gain any distance from Skoros going like sideways away from him, you watching the edges of these clouds that seem to compose whatever it is you're walking on, you can see them form hard edges, and you gather that there is a kind of walkway. There is an edge to this walkway. And when you look down over the side, you begin to see this, you see just a distance. And there's some kind of ethereal light that seems to provide very, very low illumination. And beneath you, far beneath you, at a distance you can't really tell. It's hard to see. It's hard to judge how far away you are from the surface. There is just this empty, rocky, cavernous series of chasms and just this desolate, rocky landscape that's below you. And looking upwards, you can see what appears just as pure, bleak darkness. However, you watch it every so often, and it appears that there is very, very distant surges of lightning that seem to cascade amongst thick, dark clouds that you only see kind of muted diffusion of the light that arcs between these clouds. It seems further away than the sky should be, but you don't get any sense there's a lot of room above you. It's this weird, weird issue of perspective, and you wonder what and where it is you are.
This reminds me a lot of, I forget what it's called, but from Wheel of Time. Did you ever read that?
Would you be referring to The Ways?
Yeah.
I'm on book 3 of The Wheel of Time. I gotta say, the only female character I like is Nynaeve.
That's because you haven't. That's because Min hasn't become a major character yet.
Min seems interesting, and like I can tell that they're setting her up for something. But right now, like the most interesting female character is Selene, and I'm not even sure she's female.
Remind me who Selene is?
Selene is the extremely beautiful woman in white with silver, and Min knows that she is Lanfear, who is one of the Forsaken.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to remember, like, the first couple books, because it was like, I last read them, like, 5 years ago, and there's just so many words that they'll just jumble together.
Yeah,
the whole series is like 10 million words or something ridiculous.
It doesn't help that like every book has to reiterate the shit that the previous book established. So it's like, all right, here is all the historical things that happened to the Aes Sedai, and here's all the things that are supposed to happen to these characters because of prophecies, and here's all the different groups that people are in, and these are all the different regions, and they swear, and like, fuck, like I'm on the 3rd book now, and I've been reading them almost back to back. So it's annoying coming over like the same information for the 4th or 5th time.
Yeah, definitely. I listened to the audiobook version, and the voice actors are phenomenal.
That seems like a fun job to be an audiobook voice actor.
You would be incredible at it, I'm sure.
It'd be fun. Ideally, I would love to be like a professional dungeon master. That sounds good. A professional dungeon master that like moonlights as like a ninja. That'd be my ideal job.
Let's get out of the ways.
You need not worry. There is no black wind in these ways.
Spoopy.
All right. So you're walking down this ethereal pathway. The torch that Scorus used to light up the message that he sent to Gondwana, or that he said to not to Gondwana. Gondwana's dead. That he set to summon that creature. He's using it, but it seems to swallow light, and it cannot get very far from where you are. But the firelight is more comforting than whatever ethereal light seems to permeate this place. And you're walking and walking and walking, and hours pass. And thus far, the two of you have remained completely silent. It's hard to keep track of the time as it passes. Eventually, Scorus speaks up. As stimulating as this walk is, surely we can converse to pass the time.
Surely. I was actually rather curious how such a nice man like you came to know such a nice hag like her.
Which one? Oh, yes. Her. The one we spoke with, or the one...
The one we spoke with.
Hmm. I'll tell you what. You wish to know this about me, I wish to know more about you. You seem as if you do not come from here. Where do you come from?
Hum, hum, hum.
I know that hag, and her sister, and their mother, because they called me from my home, bound me to their service, and though I have found means to make my time here more appealing, their domination over me is something I wish to see come to its close, and so I go through these efforts and these risks, and I put my very life at stake. And he seems to get a little bit riled up as he brings this up. But if this is successful, I will be free of them.
I make a little click with my hand, with my dagger.
He finds quite humorous, and he actually gets like a good belly laugh at that. He pulls back a piece of cloth, or he pulls back like the sleeve of his robe, and you see a chain of beads that wraps around his forearm, these red beads.
Does it look like...
As he shakes them, they make that very familiar clicking sound now.
Are they all red beads?
They are all red beads.
How long?
There's
How long?
one white one on the end.
Oh, there's one white one.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Huh.
He holds it up in front of his face. I have enjoyed your company, and this has remained as it is. And he stares specifically and kind of picks up the portion of the cord that binds all these, that holds the white bead. And this has stayed as such. It is a most agreeable arrangement we have come to. I do not mislead you, and you do not mislead me.
I want to get an insight on that.
You're trying to tell if he's telling the truth about that
I'm
statement?
trying to tell if he's telling the truth about the beads.
Okay, make an insight check.
I did that, but not well.
Oh, I see. He seems to be truthful. There seems to be a degree of satisfaction that he has with his own statement. If you had lied to me, I would know. And he lets the bead drop from his grasp.
Huh. Do I remember? I mean, it was only like this morning, or this like yeah, it was only like this morning that this happened.
Yeah, it was this morning.
Do I remember if it clicked on true statements or if it clicked on true facts? Like true.
I'm trying to determine what kind of check this is going to be.
Yeah.
I guess this would be an intelligence check. So just make a straight intelligence check. Because you're trying to pull things from your memory, you're trying to intuit things, and you're trying to intuit whether or not it clicked when it heard true statements, as in something somebody said, or true facts. But how would a fact be stated without somebody saying it?
No, I mean true statement as in let me I'm trying to think about how to word this because it's an abstract in my head. Did it click on opinions or did it click on a quantifiable or no, it's not the word. What are the two words? Quantifiable and qualitative? No.
Qualitative, yeah.
Yeah, but did it click on true opinions or true Did it click on facts known to be true or opinions that are true? Or both?
Roll your intelligence check.
I forgot where it was. There it is.
You're having a hard time remembering. It clicked a few times, A lot of things were said. It's kind of fuzzy, so you're not really sure. So, you were saying about where you were from?
I. Mm, mm, I'm in a dilemma.
Come now, we've had such amicable exchanges. Do not squander what we have created here.
And what is that?
A kind of working cooperation. We are respectful. We are not deceptive. And we aid each other. Most agreeable, I think.
Certainly, but I'm a little wary of your nature.
Yes, I do tend to elicit that. Is it not the case that I have been good to my word? I have provided support and aid, as I said I would.
Well, the support and aid you have lent so far is in your own interest. I have no significant doubts that you will help me, provided I finish helping you.
He extends his arms around him and says, "This is most certainly not in my best interest."
I nod. But outside our agreement, I am always wary of things I do not understand.
I can understand this apprehension of yours. But I do not seek to mislead you. We are still cooperating. You require my help, and I require yours. And so it is in our best interest to continue working together.
Absolutely.
So, you were saying about where you were from.
I don't see how that's directly relevant to us working together.
Well, it's not, but neither was me talking about my history with them. And yet I shared with you.
I want to so bad. This guy is so, yeah. He's giving me the vibe that if I tell him one more thing, I'm gonna get fucked.
I mean, he simply feels like he's provided some information about his history and not received any information. So he's feeling a little out of sorts. And that's the vibe you're getting from him. At least that's the vibe I think I'm presenting that you would be getting from me. It's a weird meta level of interaction. The persona that you're impersonating, I think, would interpret this from the persona that I'm impersonating based on my understanding of your personality in real life and how you create your persona.
You know what? Fuck it. It's more of a when than a where.
Curious. You say you come from a different when?
Well, I've been all sorts of whens, so I'm not exactly sure when this is. It's certainly not where I was, but it might not also be when I was.
It is a curious quandary you find yourself in. I imagine that's why these apprentices are so important to you. A sense of something continuous, solidarity, something familiar.
Uh, in a sense, yes. But they're kind of trapped along this journey through Wen with me.
And this is something of your making?
It is most certainly not of my making. I have no skill except my own hands. And my tongue. Not in a dirty way.
I know what you mean. Sometimes you have to say a line because it fits with what they would say at the moment, and then as soon as you finish saying it, you're like, oh, that came out wrong. That happens to me all the time. Okay, breaking completely from the story. I find that when I'm on like first or second dates, I'll say something that I think is like charming or clever or like it fits well with the conversation. And then when it comes out of my face, it's just like immediately my brain takes it in the way of like, wait, she could interpret the thing that I said in this way, and that implies totally the different thing that I was trying to imply, which means that I'm going to come across very differently than I intend to come across. And it's just like, it's as soon as I say it in my mind, like, no, I want to unsay that thing, but I can't unsay it now.
That's just flirting. Just pass it off as flirting.
Then I am occasionally very awkward at flirting.
I am frequently very awkward at flirting.
All right, so after what you can only assume has been several hours, you do get the sense of exertion. You have been walking for long enough that you are beginning to feel it, and you've taken the occasional swig from your water skin. You've seen Skoros do the same. Skoros, who has reverted to after bringing his hood up, he appears to have reverted
did he
to
click at all?
What?
Did he click when I was telling him about myself?
Well, that depends. As I'm asking as the DM, were the things you told him truthful?
Yes.
All of it?
Yeah.
Then yes, you heard more than one click.
Okay. It's a nifty thing you have there.
Yes, it is a fortunate gift. Part of the price of my servitude, he says with a certain level of disdain. But it has proven useful, though it comes with its own caveats.
Yeah, the truth is never reliable.
Sometimes the truth is. And sometimes the truth is exactly what you need to create the perfect deception.
I nod knowingly. Raise my eyebrows. Huh? Yeah. Know what you mean? No.
There's another click. As you do that and he catches your glance, you hear an audible click.
Now you're just clicking them by yourself.
As you continue, occasionally Scorus will take you down a different pathway, something diverging. But what seems strange is that his path doesn't divert very much, but the path beneath him seems to divert on its own. And for the most part, you continue walking forward. Occasionally, you do have to change direction, but it's always a rather gentle sway in the direction you're moving as opposed to a turn. And while you walk these pathways, you feel this... There's this sense of this pulling. And it always seems to be kind of pulling as if you're walking into some kind of wind, but there is no wind in this place. But you get the sensation of drag behind you. Occasionally the angle changes in very minor ways, but it's always this small sensation. And as the hours go by and you continue to feel this sometimes it's every few seconds, sometimes it's every few minutes, a weariness begins to creep into your muscles and your bones, and you forget really how long you've been walking for.
I don't suppose we're gonna be arriving soon. I don't suppose it's gonna be safe to sleep here.
I would not recommend sleeping here. From what I know, nothing calls the Underway home. But the longer you remain here, the more inhospitable this place becomes. And after a short time more, Scorus indicates to you, it is this way. And as you begin kind of moving upwards on one of these, well, everywhere you've been walking, as I described, it's kind of like smoke that seems to just kind of congeal in a shape that is something solid that you're walking on. As you begin moving up this way, it is a tendril that breaks off from whatever pathway you were walking on before, and it leads upwards. And you've not encountered any paths that led upwards. The smoke seems to solidify into something more real. And it begins to take on, instead of these very distinctly shaped edges, it begins to take on something more jagged and irregular. And as you're getting closer and closer, there is a similar doorway shape that opens up and peels off from the darkness. And there is very little light that seems to eke in from this doorway. And it is a kind of a dark blue, black. Well, dark blue, almost black. And if it were not for how much of a complete absence of color and light your surroundings possessed, you would not be able to distinguish this. And Scorus walks upwards and ducks a little bit through doorway and stands aside to let you through.
I step through.
All right, and as you step out into this, it's a dark, small kind of antechamber. And Scora still has his torch. Do you have one out, or you just been using his light?
I'll get one out. I might have one.
I'd be surprised if you didn't have a torch.
I do not have a torch.
All right. Well, the torchlight from Scores. Do you want to light a candle?
I will light a candle. Oh, I have a hooded lantern. There we go.
All right, you light a candle and put it into your hooded lantern. And as you illuminate the room that's around you, it is a small antechamber. The roof is maybe 10 or so feet tall. It comes to an arched ceiling. It is mostly stonework, but it is carved in very smooth and elegant lines. A very simple design, but it complements the shape of the room quite nicely, so that it's very harmonious and it's a very nice aesthetic. Except for the fact that it's old and ruined, and there's dirt everywhere and dust piled on top of everything, and any beautiful tile work in the floor or the ceiling is just cracked and shattered, and there's rubble strewn about the place. One end of the room is just completely collapsed into like a large landslide, just tumbled rock and earth. And there is a decrepit and kind of rotting wooden door that lies shut to your right-hand side.
Where to now?
Now we go upstairs. It is here that the difference between where we are from and where we are now is most evident. If we are spotted here, there will be no conversing. They will try to kill us. Are you prepared for that eventuality?
Certainly. Sneaky time.
Yes, that sounds good.
Let's go sneak.
All right, so you head towards the doorway and you open up this door.
Well, I listen at it first.
Ah, okay. So you listen at the door. Make a perception check.
Balls.
You don't hear anything. So you push.
I look to Scorus and I say, can I get a rough layout? Do you know the rough layout?
Outside there is an empty hall. This room lies mostly abandoned. Few know of its existence.
So we're
From here,
unlikely to run into anybody.
For a time, we must climb. Okay. Let me backpedal. He doesn't mean climb as in like physically climb. He means climb as in ascend and like going upwards. All right.
I'm gonna check for traps.
At the door you're at right now?
At the doorway I'm at right now.
Okay. Make an investigation check. You do not find any traps.
Okay. I open the door as quietly as I can.
All right. You very quietly press against the door. You can see that it's not push shut and close. There's nothing you have to like turn. There's no knob. You just press against the door and it moves and it eases on its hinges for a ways, and you start to get a view of the room, and then the door creaks as it passes through its next kind of angle and then goes quiet again. You kind of wince and recoil at the sound. You pull inwards, checking to see if anything has reacted to the sound itself, but it is equally dusty, dark, and abandoned in the room that you're staring into. It is a much larger hall, and there appears to be kind of ruined mosaics on some of the walls here. There are tattered remains of some tapestries. There are large portions of the ceiling that have collapsed and caved in, destroying what look like tables and altars and any constructs that may have been in this room at the time, whatever time this disaster happened that caused this ruin. Looking around you, there are exits at the long ends of the room. And here now there are small, very, very small breaks in the rock that you can begin to see hints of daylight. And you can hear just the faintest hint of waves.
Is the room bright enough to see without the lantern?
No, it is still very dark. The light that you can see, or the sense of daylight you get, is like through gaps in the ceiling, you can see places that daylight is hitting. So you can reasonably assume that you're still like, you know what? I'm not gonna say that. Never mind.
Okay. So I wave to Scorus and I step out into the hallway. I wanna say, you lead the way. I'll watch out for. Tell me where to go, and I'll watch and I'll go be stealthy. I couldn't put it into proper words.
Words are hard sometimes. I understand. All right, so Scorus kind of nods his head. Yes, it's this way, and he kind of indicates off to the right-hand side. And you head towards the doorway, and there is no door in this case. It is simply the just broken open, empty space that the door used to be. There are pieces of rotted wood, like shards of it, that sit around amongst stone rubble. And there are, in small areas where there has not been as much chance for wind, where there are still areas that accumulate cobwebs, you can see the occasional piece of bone or skull. You see a rusted helmet or the broken haft of an axe. And as you exit this room, you're immediately thrust into just hard, rocky terrain. And you have to kind of clamber up and over and climb for some portions, but you have to make your way up to a small crack in between where a larger boulder has fallen in and part of the rough rock wall in this area. And you pull yourself up and you watch as Scorus, having led you this far, he presses himself against the wall and peers in between the crack and says, he kind of indicates, he doesn't say anything, he just nudges with his head in that direction and kind of essentially is indicating like this, this way.
Let's go.
All right, so you come up and you peer into the space between this boulder and the rock edge, the edge of the wall, towards. And you can see a hallway that is more well kept. You can see area that's been more well trod. There's not as much dust having collected. There's fewer cobwebs. And looking around, you can see just the hint of lights at either end of this hallway that you're in. And it's silent for a time, and you begin to hear this kind of these metal sounds of almost like boot prints. It's just and it's somewhat irregular, but you see 3 or 4 armored figures walk by and kind of pass your field of view, heading off away from you towards your left-hand side as you peer through this crack. You kind of pull back at the movement, but then you peer in again, and you see that there's nobody in the hallway immediately after those figures had passed.
What type of creature was it?
You're asking Scorus?
No, I'm asking my own eyes.
Oh, you didn't really get a good look. You saw armor, and you saw. Yeah, it's not a great view that you get. You just kind of saw these figures and you heard the armor they're walking in. Make a perception check. Okay. What you didn't hear any kind of conversation amongst any of these individuals that were marching. You heard no words. You just heard the marching of their boots. And what little bit you saw of like arms and legs and anywhere where the neck or the head would be, you just saw like kind of wild and tattered hair and very pale skin drawn very close to the bone.
I'll whisper to Scorus, what exactly is guarding here?
They are creatures with some semblance of life, but they do not draw breath.
Oh, I have no experience with undead.
They are no mere rabble of skeletons. They are few in number. That is where our advantage lies. They do not know we are here.
Which direction do we need to go? Following them or against them?
We must go where they approached from. It will be some time before they come back.
Let's go fast.
Yes, this way. And the two of you kind of squeeze your way in between the rock wall and the boulder, and you pop out and make a stealth check. All right, so the two of you make your way out from this crevice, and you're standing inside a hallway, and it's quite dark in here, so it's difficult to see. Scorus has extinguished his torch at this point, so that it's not visible. Do you still have your lantern?
Do the same.
Okay,
actually,
so
is there enough? Still isn't enough light to see, right?
If your lantern is out and you like have the hood around it, so it's just creating that beam, then you can still see.
I can see like bits and pieces down the hallway, right?
Yeah, there's faint and distant light, but it's not a lot.
Then I'll just point the lantern like directly down in front of me so I can see what I'm stepping on.
Okay, so you're kind of aiming the lantern down, and under Scorus's direction, he kind of leads you. He leads you up a kind of winding pathway that you occasionally see the hallway divert in a way that doesn't really make any sense architecturally. It's more like something's been kind of moved to make it work almost. There's a sense of haphazardness to the construction of some of these areas that you go through. And yet, in contrast to that and the rocky terrain, you occasionally enter certain rooms of beautiful architecture and signs that there may have been indications of what were once like gardens. There could have been art galleries. You see the ruins of statues. You see discarded weapon racks. You see grand halls. And occasionally you you see a tunnel that leads out towards where there is daylight, and you get the brief glimpse of a kind of architectured vista. And so, making your way from these, like, occasionally these rooms to rooms, and then through these rough passageways, having to pull to the side, there is at one point you stepping forward, you see in advance two figures that are coming down the tunnel in your direction towards the room that you are just near the exit of. You've kind of crossed this room. It appears to be some kind of feasting hall where there are the remnants of long tables and kind of raised platforms where there might be performances, or like where someone might address a crowd.
So there are people coming down the hallway in front of us.
Yes, they are coming in your direction, and you know that they're there, but Scorus doesn't see them for a little while, and then when backing up, he kind of bumps into part of the structure behind him, which appears to be kind of like an old stone, almost like a bar. And part of the stonework, he kind of stands up in surprise. He cracks into it and bangs his head and shoulder, and part of this crumbles and lands on the ground, making a bunch of noise.
Great amateur. I rush him back. A couple doors. I rush him a couple doors back if I can, and I bring us into any door that looks like it's been opened recently. Any door that doesn't have debris in front of it, rather.
Well, there's the door you came in, the door you're heading towards. Those are both clear of debris. How you do see off to the side of the room, there is one doorway that appears to disappear off into a small hallway. You can't really see where it goes, but it's not far from where you are. In fact, where you kind of push Scorus back into, it's as you're pressing him back that your eye catches this area that's not filled with rubble and appears to be an empty hallway.
I will open the door that we came from, and then go down the hallway.
Okay. So you're, as these figures are approaching, having heard this sound, they begin to head in the direction of this room. And you push Scorus in the direction of the doorway, kind of indicating for him to go, and he runs off in that direction.
The hallway.
The hallway, yes. He dashes, you dash, and you close the door that the two of you entered from. Or you open the door that the two of you entered from. And then you are bolting as fast as you can to get back. And these two figures are just beginning to crest the edge of this doorway to look into this room. You can see they've got this kind of iron lantern in front of them that glows with this sickly green light. And you realize you can't make it to where Scorus is. Like, you can't run up the main hallway, so you have to pull behind some rubble, make a stealth check. Wait, did you...
No.
Oh, that's the stealth check you made when you left the... Okay.
Please. Oh, thank God. You're gonna roll a 20 one of these times. Oh, shit.
So you pull yourself off behind some rubble as you see the shape of this iron lantern. It's kind of hanging from this thick kind of rod that's being carried by one of these creatures. And you don't really get a good look at them as you pull yourself behind parts of this debris. And you slowly and very carefully, so as not to knock any of the rubble or cause anything else to fall over or make any sound, you gradually make your way around some of the ruined tables and other structures. You see features of this room that have been damaged due to what appears to be some kind of fire, but then exposure to the elements for years has weathered their appearance. And you slowly make your way roundabout. It takes a few minutes, and you see these two figures. They just walk through the room slowly that you two were in. They stop momentarily at the... Actually, you know what? They seem to wander around and kind of hold this lantern. One of them holds this lantern out in front of them. You don't get a good sight of them. Are you trying to catch a glimpse of what they are, or
No.
you just...
Okay. I want to remain as hidden as possible.
All right, so you gradually make your way to the hallway that you and Skoros discovered. And you conceal yourself in there, and you can see the two of them. They make their way back through the room that you came down. And they push open the door that you left open and continue their way down out of this room. You gradually hear the sounds of their footsteps fading.
I raise my eyebrows at Skoros. Kind of in a... Come on, dude.
It was not as if I intended to do that. I am perhaps not as talented as you are in this particular field. Come, this way.
Yes.
And you exit the hallway that the two of you concealed yourselves in, and you're able to... Actually, no, you know what? Based on what I rolled, you follow for a short distance down the hallway that the two of you have found. Skoros saying that he hasn't actually been in this particular tunnel before. And it disappears into what appears to be just like a ruined walkway that seems like it belonged on the edge of a castle wall that might overlook a cliff. The roof is relatively low, and it comes to these kind of repeating vaulted domed ceilings. And the stonework is, even though it's broken in many places and covered in dirt from not being looked after, the architecture itself is beautiful. And as you're walking through this, you occasionally get the tunnel itself that you're in is lit by beams of daylight that come in from these occasional gaps within the rocks. And as you move up to one of the larger ones and you kind of peer through, your eye takes time to adjust to the light. But as you peer through this, you can see quite a ways off. There is a large, jagged rock spire, almost. No, it is a spire. It's kind of rough and jagged in its shape. And surrounding this spire are groups of anywhere from like 8 to 10 to 15, but there are multiple groups of these small figures that seem to be flying around this rock spire, and occasionally landing, interacting with each other, taking off. You can see discolored patches where they seem to congregate. And at the foot of this is just churning ocean, occasionally broken by rocky formations that jut up out of the water. But they are very small and very shallow by comparison to this one particular spire of rock that just juts out of the sea. And the perspective you have is you're looking down on this, so you figure that whatever it is that you're in is larger than the one you're looking down on.
Oh boy. Does it look... Does it look familiar from when I looked through the looking glass, the mirror thingy? Does anything look familiar?
The experience you had with the silver mirror was you saw your apprentices, you saw the hallway that they were in, and when you pushed yourself through the wall, you heard the sound of harpies, and when you pushed yourself through the wall, you tumbled towards the ocean of a great height. And so yes, there are similarities to what you saw in the mirror and what you see here, enough that you figure this is probably the same place. Like, you're in a different spot, but this is the same region.
Okay.
And Scorus kind of, well, you and Scorus, because you're kind of exploring this tunnel together. You know what? Let me have you roll a d12.
But I don't want to fight people.
Well, roll a d12.
Where's my... What happened to my...
Thing.
My Honos window disappeared. But I don't need the Honos window to roll a d12.
No, you don't. Okay. So you and Scorus, you follow this tunnel for a small ways, and it's not exactly easy going, but you manage to make your way on a steady gradient upwards. And you once again come towards kind of a collapsed entrance to a tunnel. And the two of you are able to, with a bit of effort, move some of the rubble out of the way to make enough space to exit. And as you peer through that area, Honos, you see a few people. And they're walking like people, like regular people. They are in tattered, dirty clothes. They are bound in chains. But it is just those people. And there's maybe 7 or 8 of them. And they're a little ways off, and they're walking away from you.
Well, I don't want to get seen. Which I look to Scorus again. Which way do we have to go?
It's not far now. When we leave here, if it is where I believe, we must climb a little further, and then there will be a bridge we must cross.
We're starting to run into more and more things. It's going to be a common theme? Or have we seen the end of them, do you think?
The ones you saw, were they armored?
These ones up ahead, no.
Their minds are enslaved, bound. Unless you disturb them, they will not react to your presence. Just be mindful of heavy footfalls. The whites are aware of who should and should not be here. If one of them reports to the Master of Bones, we have a great deal of trouble on our hands. This way. And he leads you off. When you exit this area, he leads you off to the right-hand side, and there is a fork that the two of you encounter. And to the left branch, you can see a large amount, or you can see quite a bit of daylight cascading in from what appears to be an opening in whatever the rock tunnel that you're in is now. And you can see another pathway that continues upward.
Let's go.
All right, so taking the left branch, you come out to a large bridge. And it is old stonework. And like all the existing stonework that you've seen around here, it is well made, but showing signs of deterioration, as in not having been upkept in a long time. And you can see perched on the edge of this bridge, kind of kneeling down and holding some kind of small creature. It's difficult to see at this range, but it appears to be kind of scaly, though humanoid. And it's just buried its jaws into this thing's leg, and it's just gnawing the muscle off right down to the bone. And you can see these large these large sharp teeth that exist in the mouth of this creature. It's got a shock of red hair that reaches up behind it and stands up, and these large kind of predatory eyes. And you see the sight, you recognize the shape of a harpy that is perched on the edge of this bridge and is just eating whatever this creature is that has managed to snare.
I'll ask Soros, can we wait for it to leave? Do we have that sort of time?
I do not know. I do not think anyone will come this way, but the longer we wait out here in the open, the higher the chance that someone will find us.
Is there anywhere around where we could hide?
There is where we came from, but I can't think of anywhere. And you can hear at this point the sound of armored footfalls that are coming down from the tunnel that you saw earlier, the pathway up. You can hear footfalls coming down from there. And these ones are again, you hear sets of armored footfalls. They have that same irregular pattern to them, but they are doubtless armored boots.
Okay, give me a layout here.
Okay. I guess I'll just make a new page. Okay. Okay. Do you see the terrible drawing?
Yes.
Alrighty. People. Okay, so there's you. Okay, so that's you and that's Skoros. And the harpy, well, yeah, I think I said it was a harpy. Wouldn't you know, of all the shit that I don't have prepared, I don't have a harpy prepared.
I just
Okay.
need a. I just need an indicator.
Okay,
Just
the
to
indicator is going to
find
be. Wait. It's going to be that fish.
Okay.
That is the indicator. Because it is eating some kind of fish-like creature. And you can hear the sound of armored boot prints coming from this direction.
And alongside me is Cliff.
And so right about here, oh shit, that's a box. So right about here is the cliff, like the kind of rock face. And so there's like a ruined doorway, like an arched kind of doorway, which is where you're crouching behind now. And then a small measure of rock, and then the bridge that extends off across a small distance to a different point of this same area, or sorry, a different point of this same kind of rock structure that you're standing on now. It's just like a different peak. It's connected by this bridge that extends off. It kind of lies at this slightly askew and seemingly unsafe angle, but it rests there.
So how distracted is this harpy?
It seems pretty intent on eating its meal. It has not noticed. Oh, actually, you know what? Make a stealth check. Need to make a stealth check for scores.
This dude's gonna fuck us. I can feel it in my bones.
Okay, so the two of you kind of pull back towards the wall. And are you staying on this side of the pillar, or are you going to the far side?
I'll go right here.
Oh, can you move your character?
And drag Scorus behind me. Quietly
All
as
right.
possible.
So you move off in that direction, and you turn around and you motion for Scorus to come with you. And when you turn and you look, Scorus is not there.
Uh-huh.
And when you pull yourself backward, you notice that Scorus is already in position where you were trying to head towards. He's managed to keep perfect step with you. Because I roll a 24 on my stealth.
Ooh.
He kind of looks at you with this small smirk of like having made up for his previous.
There you go. Um.
The harpy does not appear to have noticed you.
Which way is it facing?
It is facing outwards towards the water.
Is there noise? Is there ambient noise here?
There is the sound of waves is louder now. It's more of kind of an ambient, constant, like rushing sound as opposed to, the roar and crash of waves.
Yeah.
Because you've climbed a fair distance since you've been here, and you don't know how high you were when you started. So you've started to gain quite a bit. There's also a fair amount of wind up here where you are. So that is also that is also providing a lot of interference for hearing. You can see, looking at the feathers of the harpy, you can see it's kind of being blown against with a significant breeze.
I'm gonna whisper to Scorus, how fast can you run?
I'm as quick as any other.
I'm gonna point down the bridge, along the south part of the bridge, and very slowly, very carefully make my way past the harpy.
All right. You hunker down, and I'm going to use the stealth check from before. You slowly kind of make your way along the sides of the bridge, down along this path.
Is there debris on the bridge?
There is debris. There is also what appears to be, now that you're out here and you can see a bit better, you can see kind of like a lower edge to the walkway. It appears to be ornamental in its construction, but it is solid stone, and it sits a little bit lower down below the edge of the walkway.
So I could get down there and be basically hidden from the bridge?
Yes.
Does it look difficult to get down?
No, it's only maybe like 1.5, 2 feet up, so you'd have to hunker down when you're there, but it's like if you were to hop down there, the distance you would have covered would come up to roughly like your waist, a little above your waist.
Okay. I'm going to get down there and crouch down and stealthily go down the bridge.
All right, so you and Scorus, you hop down onto the edge of the walkway, and you begin making your way down.
I'm gonna get a decent bit in front of Scorus again, so I can be ahead of him in case I run into anything.
All right, are you checking for anything as you go?
I'm just keeping an eye and an ear out for anything in front of us or any harpies flying that might see me to the left, to the south.
Okay, make a perception check.
I also want to keep actually I want to remain within earshot of the harpy and wait like a minute or so to see if the undead guards come past the harpy or not.
Sorry, I got up for a moment. Say that again.
I want to wait. I want to go past the harpy, but wait like within earshot to see if I can tell if the undead and the harpy are basically gonna fight each other if they run into each other.
Okay. So you kind of hunker down and you watch for a short period of time. And you do see... Sorry, okay, so you and you stay a bit further ahead than Scorus, and the two of you just kind of lay low for a period. And after a few minutes, there is no sign of the undead, but there is a sudden rush of shadow and a blur that kind of streaks up near where you are crouched behind you. You have to pull yourself against the wall, and a bigger harpy swoops upwards, and you hear this shriek and this cry, and it dives forward towards the one that is sitting there on the edge of the bridge, and the two of them begin fighting over this meal.
Now is a good time to go. Now is a great time to go. I just turn around immediately and start heading quickly forward.
All right, picking up on your cue, Scorus picks up and runs forward, and these two harpies are locked in combat now, fighting over this. And you see, as you stand up, you look over and you can see this. The creature that it was eating is this small humanoid shape, but it is fish-like in its features. It has like a large, wide jaw that can open up and is lined with small, sharp teeth, almost like a piranha. It's got these large eyes that are mounted on the sides of its head. There are what appear to be the remnants of gills on the side of its neck as it moves down, and it's got kind of small charms that hang from piercings that are shoved into parts of its body. But it has just been eviscerated as this harpy's been feasting on it. And the two of you dash forward, and you pull yourselves up on top of the platform, the bridge, and you make your way into this room. And it is a small winding pathway that leads to a flat stone door that is carved in. It's carved in very simple angular designs, kind of a series of overlaying triangles in a mosaic. And one of the knockers is kind of broken off, and there's just a small segment of a stone ring. The other one is complete. It just hangs limply at the front of the door.
The door's closed.
The door is closed.
I look back at Scorus. Knock, knock.
Sorry, Ian. Okay. So Scorus moves up to the door and grabs a hold of the ring and pulls, and the door slowly swings open. Kind of, you hear this dull scraping sound of the hinges as they.
I move on ahead.
As you step inwards, the floor of this room is distinctly different. And whereas a lot of this has been kind of stonework or kind of tiles and kind of like cut and polished, like a granite or marble or things like that, this appears to be more metallic in its nature. Kind of like cast metal bricks that have been laid in this pattern. And there is a gradual descent down towards what is a small central area that's kind of shaped in a semicircle. And outwards from that, there are very, very gradual raised sections upwards in a larger. Okay, here, let me just draw this because it's going to suit the bill better. Okay, so that's the edge of the semicircular depression, and there are kind of almost like staircases off to the sides that lead in towards this depression.
Uh, what's the angle I'm looking at this from?
This would be the top-down view.
And I am like looking down from like here.
You are at the southernmost portion of the room. You would be here-ish.
And I'm looking down on this.
You're kind of looking forward and down onto the central area.
So it's like a theater, kind of?
Yes, it certainly has that connotation. Okay. At the back of the room, there is some kind of machine that is recessed into a depression within the wall. And it appears to be some kind of, it's a shape almost like a small bathtub, but the rim of the tub, instead of like being its own distinct object, it appears to be almost like a tub-shaped depression in what is otherwise a kind of metal construct.
It's in the tub, I say to.
And Scorus shakes his head, and he kind of steps forward, heading towards that area, trying to. You see above the tub itself, there is against the wall a kind of looming figure. It almost seems to extend upwards off the back of the tub in this direction, and kind of melds with part of the wall. And it's this large figure with this angry, misshapen face with pronounced fangs, and its arms kind of reach forward in this imposing view that looks like it's trying to reach forward and grab anyone that would be positioned in wherever the tub is. And from beneath where the hands and the wrists that emerge from the depression in the wall are, there are these small indentations. You can see within these indentations there are very, very small metallic gleams. You can see the littlest bit of light catching off of what seems to be either metal or glass. And Scorus makes his way down.
I make my way down.
Okay. Where is the thing that I used for the dude with the stuff? And there we go. No. Do that. There we go. All right, so Honos has actually made his way in between different kind of raised standing platforms. Are you letting him get ahead of you, or are you going first?
I'm going first.
All right, so you're headed down towards that machine ahead of him. So you have to hop over this kind of raised edge and drop down about 5 or 6 feet onto the hard stonework, and he lands just behind you. And the two of you are almost step for step as you come up towards the side of this kind of pool. And the two of you stand beside this. This pool is kind of just filled with this still, dark, green fluid.
Do I see a vial?
You see recessed into the walls, there are, on each side, there's room for what appear to be 4 objects under each hand on the left and right side. And on the right side, you can see 3 vials and the shattered remains of 1. So all 4 of the slots on the left-hand side over here are filled. And on this side here, you can see 2 vials and then 2 empty indentations for where there could be more. And Skoros walks up and he begins to examine around where one of the vials is.
I look for traps.
Make an investigation check. You, looking around, you don't detect anything as far as like tripwires or pressure plates or anything like that.
Does it behind the empty in the empty canister places? Do I see any sort of mechanism that would trigger if there was something there that it was lifted out?
You peer in towards them and you see sitting at the bottom there is a small indentation that looks like it could be depressed if something were to be fit in there. And you, as you're looking in towards and you're seeing this, you see that like, yeah, it looks like there's something that could fit in there. Sorry, it's within an indentation there is a small like piece that sticks upwards. That to your trained eye looks very much like a kind of like a pressure plate. And as you're making this discovery, you can see Skoros is reaching out with this.
I reach out and grab his hand.
He looks at you with this sense of like aggravation and
slow your roll, dude.
He looks at you with like, what?
Let's not trigger anything.
He kind of leans back a little bit and you can see him almost shake his head and more like he kind of gains control of his faculties again and says, yes, of course. What have you found?
I point out the pressure plate.
So we need to, when we remove...
Do you need it in the vial?
I need to remove the vial.
You need the vial and the liquid.
I need to take it out from this machine.
You need to take one out, or you need to take all out?
One.
So you need to take one vial and the liquid in one vial out.
I simply need the vial.
You simply need the vial.
Yes, the contents, I would prefer not to destroy it, but if it means breaking the connection with this machine, it is worthwhile.
And what's our way out is the same way we came in?
Why do you want to know?
In case we have to run.
There are more than one ways off of this island, but that would be the preferred one, yes. How do we get it out of there? Or what?
Can I see the immediate mechanical purpose of the vials?
You're trying to infer why what they do, or why they're there.
What they do? Are they there to collect something, or are they there to dispense something?
They appear to simply be connected to whatever this construct is. You don't determine any kind of... There doesn't seem to be any kind of system designed to empty or fill these vials. They just sit there with a dark crimson-colored liquid. Some of them are empty. One of them is broken. They all seem to have this very specific metal kind of fitting and bracing that's designed to go into this machine that kind of cap both ends of the glass. And the one that you saw Scorus reaching to is full. Sorry, no, it's not red. It's like a deep kind of muddy brown.
Let me look at my inventory real quick. What size and color is my flask of oil?
Your flask of oil is meant for like refilling lanterns and stuff, so it's pretty big. I'm trying to think of... Okay, I would say it's like half a liter's worth of oil, and it's kept in a kind of leather flask.
Okay.
Relatively stiff-necked, but kind of round at the bottom.
What does the ceiling look like immediately above this thing?
Immediately above this, well, there's the depression, but it kind of travels upwards, and it's still this
directly directly above this thing. What does the ceiling look like?
It goes up for maybe 15 or so feet, and then it caps off at a right angle, but it's mirror in the same way that the floors and everything in this room seem to be made of this kind of metalwork. The ceiling appears to be made of this metalwork as well.
Damn. Is there anything in the room? There are no other vials in the area, right? It's just... Is there any glass on the ground?
Make an investigation check to search the area. You do not... You find the occasional piece of broken glass, but most of what you find are... They're these kind of round husks, almost. And when you pick one up and you examine it, you're not really sure what it is at first, and there's part of it that's kind of translucent and almost like round and empty. And as you roll it around, you begin to see what looks like a kind of like a chitinous armored structure, and you realize you're holding what appears to be like a very large insect shape. Like it's maybe the size of the body of this thing's maybe like the size of an orange.
Is it alive?
No, it's dead. And all of the ones that you see around here are dead, but they're kind of these empty, dried husks of these creatures.
There's no, because it's all metal worked, right, in this room?
Yes.
So there's no, like, what kind of debris is in this room?
This room is actually relatively clear of debris. There is, like, there are a few places in which the roof has given way to, or sorry, I should say there's like one kind of large fissure that's through the roof about halfway up the room. So kind of like in a line here. Like that across the room, but along the roof, where everything seems to be kind of skewed, and then from there you can see pieces of rock have fallen inward and scattered themselves around where that line lies. But other than this, like one kind of fissure in the room, it's mostly this metalwork.
I'm gonna take. How far are the pressure plates depressed on the sections that have bottles in them? And as opposed, okay, so how far are the pressure plates depressed on the empty bottles, and how far are they depressed on the full bottles?
Well, wait, what do you mean? Oh, on the empty ones. Well, you can't see because anywhere one of these vials is, it seemingly fills up the space and pushes the pressure plate down.
Is the pressure plate the entire bottom part, or is it like a raised part from the bottom?
It is a raised part from the bottom.
So on the empty bottle, is the pressure plate pushed down so it is flush with the bottom?
Well, okay, so there's one empty one and there's one broken one.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look into the empty one, you only see the bottom of this like metal, like you'll see the bottom of the vial and then the metal cap, and it seems to be shaped inwards as in to like push in towards the bottom of this thing. And the broken one is you see just half of a vial, and you look down and you can see mostly broken glass and the inside of this metal cap that is designed to fit into this machine.
Oh, so okay, so it's meant to push it down. It's meant to fit in snug as opposed to push it down by gravity.
Yeah. So what you see is kind of like this. I'm going to give you side profile view. So it's like. Okay, so this is the side view, and then there's the piece that sticks upwards is like this. So the metal shapes that you see that seem to form the bottom of these things, at least when you look down from the inside, are shaped to kind of fill this space in. Like that, if except for the fact that I didn't fuck up that one side.
So the bottle just pushes down on the bottom.
Yes.
Okay. Does it look, from the shape of the bottles, does it look like I could remove, if I were to take one of my candles and cut it so it is the same height as the bottle, and so it would fit inside this thing snugly?
You can certainly try.
If I'm asking if I were to do that, would I be able to remove the bottle without letting the pressure plate up or down at all?
Wait. Are you saying like could you cut a piece of wax to be shaped like that to fill in the space?
No, I can. I feel confident I could do that. I'm wondering if I could. If does the shape look like I could remove the bottle without moving the pressure plate up or down or not at all? Like, does the is the bottom of the vial, is it flat or is it like curved so the pressure plate goes up a little bit? So if you were to take it out, it would go down then up all the way. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm not sure what you meant by that last statement. It would go down then up all the way.
So if you have a, the bottom of a glass that is curved up into the glass, and then you have this pressure plate thing pushed up like halfway into the glass.
Yeah.
You would have to push the pressure plate all the way down to remove the glass from the pressure plate.
Yes.
Is it like that, or is the bottom of the vial flat?
From what you can tell, the bottom of the vial just has this metal piece that fits around the bottom like a cap. And it's this specific metal shape that fits into this machine. And so it's just shaped to press down into that. It's not shaped to like have anything recede into it. Just seems to it appears that if you were to push something into there, that it would just depress the pressure plate.
Okay. I'm gonna cut a candle such that it'll fit snugly into the I want to make it narrow enough so I can get it into there, like right up next to the vial, basically, and push the vial out at the same time I move the candle in. Can I rotate the vial out at all, or do I have to pull it? I would have to pull it apart. I would have to pull. Can I get my fingers around the vial?
You can certainly get your fingers around the vial, yes, but you would have to remove the vial before you could put anything into there to try and push down on.
Let me look at my. I need my thieves' tools. I would have a flat piece of metal.
You would probably have a flat piece of metal, yeah.
Can I fit that flat piece of metal underneath the vial to hold down the pressure plate?
Are you going to try and pull that off?
Yes. Does it look like I could do it first?
It looks like you could do that, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try and pull it off.
Okay, make a.
Well, I want to do the candle first.
Wait, well, I thought you were going to use the candle to like replace the metal part, but wouldn't you have to remove the metal part first?
What metal part?
The metal part at the bottom of the vial.
I want to hold down the pressure plate and take the vial out, and then replace the vial with the candle, and then take my metal thing out. My thieves' tool thing out.
Right. So you have to start with trying to get the metal tool in there first.
Yes.
Okay. So make a check with your thieves' tools. All right. So as you lean in and you slide one of your thieves' tools down and you kind of scrape along the inside edge of the surface of this indentation, you slowly start to kind of peel forward the top of the vial, and it kind of leans forward. And as it comes forward, you can see that there is no similar pressure plate in the top. There appears to just be in the bottom. Oh, I was talking without holding down my push to talk button because I was using hand actions. So you begin to feed your thieves' tool underneath the vial as you begin lifting it up and out of the indentation, and you hold down with the thieves' tool, and you're pushing it down, and you can see the little pressure plate that you're holding down, and you begin to hand off the vial, and almost immediately
I don't hand it off.
You hang on to it?
I put it in my pocket.
You put it in your pocket, okay. All right, so you have it in your pocket, and then you take the wait. Okay, so how are you getting to the wax? Or no, you put it in the pocket, and then you're gonna take the wax part out.
Yes.
Okay. You know what? Make a sleight of hand check because Scorus is watching you intently as you do this.
Well, I wasn't trying to be stealthy about it.
Well, no, but this is the deftness of your fingers because Scorus tries to reach for this thing as soon as it's clear. So it's your ability to keep it out of his hands is what the sleight of hand was.
Okay. Rip.
Hang on, let me see. Oh.
I rolled a 1, so.
Well, it was always your intention to try and pocket this thing?
It was my intention was to hold on to it until we got out of here, and then I would give it to him. But if he's ripping it from my hands, then he's got it. I wasn't trying to like sneak it into my pocket because I mean he's it's very obvious what I'm doing.
Yeah, and he wants this real bad.
Yeah.
And if it's unfortunate that that was a 1.
Yeah.
Wow, a 1 and a 20. Damn, look at that.
Yeah.
So you like it's almost immediately after you have that vial clear that he snatches it right out of your hand, almost jostling loose your hold on the pressure plate. But in this sudden seeming burst of desperation, he takes it from you and he clasps onto it and he holds it in his hand and he clenches onto this with a fierce need to keep a hold of it.
Shove the candle in there.
You see him pocket it, and then he takes the piece of wax and pushes it down into. But you put it, or you give it to him.
I take the wax.
Okay, you feed the wax down and you push it down and press it, and as you slowly slide your thieves' tool out, and it kind of cuts through part of the wax on the way out, but it seemingly fills up the shape pretty well, and you press it down to hold it.
Yeah.
There's seemingly not having activated the trap. Man, it's a good thing that 1 did not come on the thieves' tools check.
Yeah. Let's get out of here.
Scorus has a visible wide smile on his face and says, "Yes, I must uphold my end of the bargain now." Quickly. And you can see there are other doors that extend out of this room, but you head back the way you came. You exiting the door you came in from, you push it closed and you make your way back down the small staircase you took to get up here. And peering out the side of the bridge.
Can I see the harpies at the end of the bridge?
You no longer hear the sound of harpies. And as you come towards and you kind of look over one of the edges, as you peer around the corner, you can see what appears to be a dead harpy and 2 armored humanoid figures standing over top of it looking down at the creature. And kind of one has is drawn a dark longsword, and it is tarnished from not being polished, but still looks functional. And it is prodding this harpy corpse that is lying down along the side of the bridge. Its throat and chest kind of torn open. It appears that the larger assailant won.
Okay. Does it look like they're gonna move on?
Well, right now the two of them just appear to be kind of staring at this thing and trying to determine if it's alive or not.
Well, I'll wait a minute to see what happens.
All right. Well, you hear the kind of slow shuffling of this creature being slid off of the stonework, and you just hear this kind of like thump, and then the sound of something falling through air, and the faintest hint of a splash off in the distance. And you can hear armored footprints headed in your direction. Footprints again. Armored footfalls. Fucking words.
Get off to the walkway of the bridge and hide down there.
Well, okay, so right now you're in a doorway similar to when you're essentially on the inside edge of the doorway, and they are already headed towards you.
Oh, so they're down. They're all the way across. They're still on the bridge.
Yeah, they're on the bridge. They were like halfway across the bridge when they encountered the harpy, and then they seemingly pushed it off and are headed towards you now from halfway down the bridge and are already headed in your direction.
I'm gonna ask Scorus another way out of here.
We could head back and try and hide.
Yeah, how are they smart enough to recognize that something's missing here?
I don't know how closely they pay attention. I have not been here in quite some time.
Is there any good place? Do I see any places that are good hiding spots in here?
There is not really anything in your immediate vicinity. Make a perception check. You do see some small recesses and alcoves that one person might be able to hide in. You do recall that there were plenty of spaces that you could hide in the room you came from.
And that would be past this room.
I don't know. The little auditorium you were in with that machine.
Yeah.
You left that room.
Yeah.
And then you headed down the stairs to the bridge, and now they're coming at you from the bridge. So you could head back into that room with that machine in it.
But there's the area we're in right now has hiding spots.
There are some small alcoves that you may be able to conceal yourself in. Yes. The sounds of the armored feet are getting closer.
We'll hide in this room.
Okay, make a stealth check.
This is it. This is where it goes bad.
All right, so you and Scorus, you kind of dash across the hallway from each other, and you press yourselves into these alcoves, these small fissures in the stonework, or where the kind of walls have broken away. You find whatever gaps and recesses you can press yourselves into. You squeeze in as tightly as you can, almost holding your breath for concern of making too much noise and drawing any attention to yourself, and you can hear the sound of these armored boots just as they round the corner and begin heading up the stairs. And you get a clear view of them as they pass this time. They are headed up these stairs, and you see gaunt skeletal faces with whatever skin is left having pulled tight against the bone. But there is the cheeks behind that, like there is no breath that leaves that mouth. It is drawn tight skin along bone and tooth. You can see their forms, the gaps in the armor where leather would be is just empty, and you can see the shape and color of bones beneath it. All of them appear to have, there are different kinds of armaments. You see swords, you see bows, you see shorthand or short close range weapons, and you see one of them carrying a similar iron rod with that kind of lantern with the green glow. And it's the proximity of the glow that allows you to determine kind of like where they are, and it gave you the hint of when they were coming around the corner. And they march past you, and the light cascades onto you for a moment as they walk past, and they head up and turn and enter the room that you just exited. And you can hear their feet begin to walk away. All right, so you and Scorus jump out from there, and you run. Are you stealthing or are you running?
We're leaving this area quietly and then looking out onto the bridge.
Okay. So you quietly creep your way back along this bridge. You see the bloodstains.
Do I see anything on the bridge?
The bridge is seemingly empty.
We're making a run for it across the bridge.
Okay, the two of you bolt across the bridge as fast as you can. There are harpies that you see in the air nearby, but none of them seem to notice you. And the two of you bolt across the bridge, and you walk back in towards where this fork is. And this time, Scorus leads you up the other branch and further up into what bears no longer any signs of man-made construction. At least for quite some time, you have to almost climb over bare rock for certain portions of this. And you eventually come across this long hallway. And off of this hallway are a series of smaller staircases. And this is where signs of construction begin to show themselves again. And there are these small staircases that then open out into these small chambers. And the chambers are each lined with one or two alcoves where roughly wrought metal bars and what looks almost like shrapnel or scraps appear to have been jammed and set into what little stonework there is, or just into the rock itself. And they form these kind of twisted cages and bars that you kind of wonder how, once something's in there, how it would get out. And it bears a striking resemblance to what you saw when you looked in the mirror that time. The area around you is illuminated by another one of those pale green iron lanterns. And as you creep quietly through this area, there is no movement of air. There is barely any sound that you can hear from outside. It is very, very quiet here.
I recognize these cells as the same kind of cells that held my apprentice.
Yes.
Do I recognize this area from what I saw before, like this specific area?
Okay, well, so right now you are hidden. If you're going to try and investigate this area, you're probably going to have to break stealth to do it.
Do I see anybody around?
You don't see anybody here, no?
I looked to Scorus. Are they close?
They should be here. He whispers, but it sounds loud. It sounds like he's speaking at full volume in this place.
Lower my hand a little bit. Should be.
This is where prisoners of interest are kept. Ones that the Master of Bones decides are curiosities. He says the word curiosities almost with a kind of a visible shudder. And he begins stepping inwards, looking into some of the different cells. Make an investigation check.
Yeah, I'll look for recent occupants.
All right, make an investigation check. So looking around, you see a series of unoccupied cells. You see some. You smell before you see some of them. There are what are beginning to be the putrefaction of remains. There are some people that seem to have died in their imprisonment here. There is one woman with very pale white kind of silver hair that is laying unconscious. There is a man in a different cell that you encounter whose one of his entire arms is covered in extremely intricate and delicate tattoos, and halfway up his entire right arm is covered in these tattoos, and his entire left arm up to the elbow is covered in different style but equally intricate tattooing. He appears to be in pretty good shape, but seems like someone that is physically adept, but is gone malnourished for quite some time. And you can see clinging onto his leg is one of those insectoid creatures you saw before, but this one is alive, and it is latched onto and having kind of torn through leather and clothing to get to the flesh of his body. It is latched onto one of his legs, and it appears to just be just holding on to there. And you can see its abdomen is filling with, or is filled with a kind of dull blue glow. Like whatever's in there, it's kind of illuminating the abdomen very slowly. It's one of the only other sources of light in this room aside from the pale green glow of that lantern. The only other figure you find is a creature that when you first look at it, you think that it's remains, because the legs are very thin and the skin is pulled tight to the frame. But you realize that it's just very different looking skin, and along the bottom are feet that extend off in 4 major digits, each tipped with a long claw. And tracing upwards, you see a feathered body and a robe, and it appears to be just kind of hunched over with its head resting in its arms. The robe is dirty and in tatters, and it appears to be just kneeling and resting its head against its arms, leaning against the back of its cell.
I go back over to Scorus and say thoughts.
There was two others, the ones I think you seek. They were in, and he moves and he finds a different cell, and this cell is empty. They were here.
And where do you think they are now?
He seems at a loss. And it is... actually, wait, hang on. Where is... I gotta find the Hono sheet. Okay, that's the thing. You only feel the clasp of a thin pair of arms around your waist from behind.
Oh god.
As something grabs a hold of your body and pulls itself towards you. And then there is very shortly afterwards another thin pair of arms that clasp kind of around your midsection along the side. And you're looking down, there are two kids that have latched onto one from behind and one from the side, and you stare down at your apprentices.
I immediately look around to see if anyone else came in.
Make a perception check. Just because I want to make you make as many perception checks as I can justify. You do not see anybody.
I look over to the girl and I say, okay, buddy, we gotta get out of here now.
She doesn't say anything and just nods emphatically. You hear Scorus kind of clear his throat. I told you.
I'm gonna... I want to roll insight. I want to make sure that they are them.
Okay, roll insight.
Insight. I want to do whatever. I want us to make sure it's not an illusion.
Okay, make an investigation check to determine if it is an illusion. You look at them, you examine them, you kind of pull them close and look into their eyes and test to make sure that their hair is really their hair. Their skin feels like their skin, and any like moles or birthmarks or things like that, and it looks like them.
Okay, let's go. We're gone.
All right, the four of you exit, and as you are heading out, you kind of leave this particular hallway up this small set of stairs. You're back in this main entranceway where the kind of baleful light of this iron lantern is at its source. And as you're heading outwards, you catch out of the corner of your eye, there is... It sounds like footfalls, but they're very light. And you hear kind of a creaking... Yeah, it's like a kind of raspy creaking sound. And the light from further on down this hallway that you didn't explore and curving upwards, the light from that area seems to diminish as if something is blocking whatever the source of the light is from further up the hallway. And you just hear this very soft kind of creaking sound. And it's not something you had recollection of thinking back on your experience in the mirror, but it is something that was in almost like out of the corner of your eye that whole time you were there. And it's the sensation of this somebody, something, that shadow, that somebody. And you get the unnerving sensation of being watched, even though you feel pretty alone.
I'm starting to... I say out loud, I'm starting to feel very uncomfortable, Scorus.
Then I'd say it's time to go. And he continues to lead you out of the pathway you came, down the hallway. And you there is no shortage of haste in his step either, and he is checking behind on a regular basis as well. This is going to be one more stealth check for all four of you to see if you can make your way back to where you got in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, having remembered the pathway that you took to get here, you even recall the route you took to try and find, or to go through that hallway you stumbled upon, where you narrowly avoided two of the figures on the way in here. You make your way down and out through these hallways. Your apprentices, at the sight of not only having you, they, as soon as like there's any sense of no one's in the immediate vicinity, they immediately begin bombarding you with questions about where you've been and what's happened with them. And there's just this, like, any chance they get, there's this immediate chatter between you and them.
I every time they speak, I say, "Shut up until we're out of here."
They every time you say that, it creates maybe like 30 to 45 seconds worth of silence, and then well, you said he doesn't speak, right?
He does not speak.
Okay, so then just every so often she'll pipe up with something else that she wanted to tell you, or something that just occurred to her, or an experience that happened. And you tell her to shut up, and then she's quiet again, and then she starts telling you about something else. And you gradually make your way down and around, walking through the same routes you took to get here. You see more of these human individuals that are just kind of plodding along, and you get to see some of their faces this time, and you see them just kind of almost like they're in a trance, just wandering their way down. Always, every time you see them, they're always headed in a pathway that takes them further down this, whatever this place is. As you gradually make your way back to the boulder in that small space, you squeeze yourselves back down into, taking down the ladder, or not ladder, the rock face you had to climb to get up here. You make your way back down and into this empty hall, back into this antechamber, and once again you see the stone figure holding its hands out in this bronze plate. Skoros looks to you and says, "I imagine we part ways after this."
Yes. Let's get out of here.
It has been fun.
It'll be fun after we're out of here. But I agree.
There is one small problem.
There's always a problem at the end.
Yes. I have opened the underway, once today. I can do so once. You will need to open it this time.
Insight. I'm gonna insight you so hard.
Make an insight check. It's hard to read.
Fuck. I'm gonna wave over to the boy and say, Give it a try, bud. And I look over at Scorus and say, tell him. Tell him how to do it.
He looks down to the boy. He leans in. You must give something of where you are and something of where you wish to go. And then the underway will open. Now, can Honos think of anything that would provide something adequate for either of those?
Well, where you are, I think he would interpret literally as just pick something off the ground. Or the kid would at least.
The kid would think that?
The kid would think that, yeah.
All right, now...
I want to go...
Yes.
They wouldn't have anything on them. I have a signet ring that belongs to a fake noble that I created from where I'm from. Well, not really a fake noble, but a fake-ish noble.
Okay, so are you going to offer that signet ring?
I would imagine that the kids don't have anything on them, so I'm gonna offer the signet ring.
Okay, so you'll take you'll take something of the land around you, and then you'll take that signet ring?
Yeah.
And do you give them to the boy and he puts them in the dish?
Yeah.
All right. So you hand these two objects to this boy and he puts them into the dish. And Skoros once again says this phrase in a language you don't understand. I totally forgot what I said before. So
that is perfectly fine.
I will not be able to repeat it because I forgot what it was. But you don't know what it is, so ha. And once again, this face kind of pulls backward and recesses inward. And as this boy steps backward, there is where it was very, very dark before. There is flashes of a kind of white electric arcing lightning. They're in small bolts, but it's kind of bursting outwards from this underway and kind of out of this open door. I need you to roll a D100.
Huh. Huh.
All right, so as all of you step inwards, you pass into this doorway, and there are more of these arcs of arcane electricity that seem to bounce around, sometimes impacting into you. And what you notice is the girl, the female apprentice, she begins to drift upwards and off of... Actually, wait, hang on. Pick a number between 1 through 4.
3.
So she begins to float up and off of the kind of walkway wherever it's visible. And given that it's only kind of visible when you're touching it, where she was on the walkway immediately goes invisible. And you can no longer tell exactly where she was. And she flails wildly for a moment before seeming to gain some sense of equilibrium through the air. And she begins flying. And as you're heading
Just a
inward,
normal day.
and as you're heading inwards for the next minute, so that'll be 10 times. I need you to roll a D100 another 9 times.
God, what did she do?
No, this is him.
This is who?
This is a result of what the boy did.
Oh, this is a result of what the boy did.
Yes.
Huh.
Oh, wait, hang on. No, you said she was the one like the wild magic.
She's the wild magic, he's the demigod.
Okay, alright. No, this is her doing. Okay, 99.
You wanted 4 more?
Well, let's see. It says for the next minute. So I guess it should be 10 in total.
Oh
All right, so that's your first one. Okay. That doesn't matter for you. Nothing happens. Okay.
I hold on tight to the boy. This has happened before.
You are hanging on tight to this boy, and you can't help but notice that your head feels kind of cold.
Huh?
And you look and you kind of reach your arm up to touch where your hair is, and there is no hair anymore. And you look and you are completely bald. And then you look at your arms, and all the hair on your arms is gone. And you touch your face, and there isn't even a hint of stubble. And you realize that all the hair in your body has fallen off. Roll again. So as you continue walking through the underway, there is a small popping sound. And you know what? I guess I gotta roll for this. Okay, so with a loud kind of popping sound landing on the underway in front of you is a small creature that appears to be made of metal. And it seems to be kind of 2 metal boxes that are joined by a long kind of essentially it looks like a large screw that connects the bottom and the top boxes, and there is a cog that kind of runs up and down the span in between the 2 boxes, just infinitely going back and forth. And there are 2 very thin mechanical arms that come off the top box and 2 very thin mechanical legs that come off the bottom box. And it begins just kind of walking around beside you as if like that's exactly what it should be doing. And it's got this strange face of 2 glass lenses with dark patches in them for eyes, and a very flat nose with 2 slits in it, and a large mouth that instead of moving, it just kind of lights up as this thing speaks.
Uh-huh.
And every so often there are questions that just come out of this thing. What am I doing here?
I'm gonna kick it off the edge.
Okay, you make an attack roll. No, make a strength check.
Oh, it's big enough that it requires a strength check?
I never said that.
What?
Make a strength check.
-1. Fuck.
Yeah, it's a medium. Okay. Yeah, it's a medium creature. So you plant your foot on the back of this thing and you push, and it stumbles and then kind of trips its own foot trips over one foot and another. It's a very awkward kind of creature, and then just and you can just hear this kind of monotone as it just falls eventually out of sight. Okay, what was that? That was 3 rolls? Okay, roll again. I know, the D100.
Oh, how did I do that? I need to look up exactly what 6 was, because that was fucking weird.
So you're walking along this pathway, and you gradually notice that your perspective is changing a little bit. And the girl from behind you calls out, and she calls out, "Honos, you're getting taller." And when you look down on her, you are viewing her from slightly higher than you were last time.
And I'm just keep walking, just pretend it's not happening. Maybe
Okay.
it'll go away.
All right, roll the 5th time. Oh, well, that... Okay, nothing happened. Roll the 6th time. Okay. I need you to roll 4d10.
Of course I do. Separate or together?
Just roll 4d10.
Separate or together?
Roll it all together.
That's how much health I have, exactly.
Okay, you...
Oh no, I have 24.
So you are suddenly struck by a surge of energy, and a bolt of lightning leaps out of this girl and slams into yourself, the boy, and Honos, and Scorus. And you all take 26 points of lightning damage.
I'm unconscious.
Okay. So Honos goes unconscious. I still need you to keep rolling D100s then. So you have 4 more to go. Okay, nothing happened. Okay, nothing happens. Well, actually, I suppose I might as well tell you. You're unconscious, but you gain vulnerability to piercing damage for the next minute.
This will be the worst fucking way to die.
Okay, for the next minute, you can teleport up to 20 feet as a bonus action on your turns if you weren't unconscious. So let's see, that was your 7th, I think, or 8th.
Let's roll up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Oh, that was your 9th.
8 or 9.
I think no, I think it was your 8th, right? Because the first one was the first one that started this whole thing. So yeah, you have 2 more to go.
I'm counting 9.
Okay, then 1 more.
Yeah, I'm counting. Oh no, that was 10.
Right, but the first one where you rolled the 2, that is
I'm
what
not
started.
counting the first one.
Okay, so I see the 99, 56, 6, that's 3. 11, 4, 55, 5, 65, 6. 1, 7, 96, 8. 44 is 9. So there should be 1 more. Because the 26 was 4d10.
I don't think I counted that.
I mean, I only count 9, so one more, please.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I grabbed my book. Yeah.
Okay, read what 47 does.
Yeah, fucking unicorn.
Okay, so you wake up being magically revived and open your eyes into this kind of blurring. It's weird. There wasn't really any sources of light the last time you were in the underway, but there is now. And there is some kind of light, and you open up your eyes, and there is this gleaming, white, perfectly pristine, glowing unicorn.
I look over at the girl and say, please, no magic when I'm within 50 feet.
She is transfixed on this unicorn and does not even process what you're saying, but the look on her face is just pure delight. And she is so happy with what's happened right now.
I look at the boy and say, I can't even.
And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
What a fucking way to almost die.
I was kind of amazed when, like, I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, because you rolled the 2, which on the wild magic table says for the next minute you have to roll on this table. And so I thought, you know what? It should be fun to do all the rolls on the wild magic. Maybe something silly will happen. And sure enough, you fucking lost all your hair twice, and a Modron showed up, and she bolted everybody with lightning. And then I couldn't have asked for it to go better. And then a fucking unicorn shows up and leads you the way home.
So why was it affecting me and not her?
What do you mean?
The wild magic.
I just had it affect whoever I thought it would be funny at the time.
Oh, okay.
So I was just kind of doling out the effect. All right, well, congratulations, Honos. You made it.
Fucking made it.